Hi guys, it's Mary McIntyre. Welcome back to my channel. This is my video for the Claire's Crafty Corner Open Collab. So thank you, Claire, for organising this. There's no theme to this one. This is just make whatever you want and join in with the collab. The playlist for the other creators that have joined in will be in my description box below. All the materials that I'm using will also be in the description box as well. I always list that, so check that out if you're wondering where things came from. So for this video, I want to do a few tests. So I recently picked up some of these interference nail powders, and I've got 6 of them. And on camera, just in their pots, they don't really look like they do much, but there are 6 of them, all different colours. And depending on what you back them with and how you use them, they can really take on like a more vivid colour, a more subtle colour. They can kind of look a bit moonstony. So I want to have a play with those. And I recently bought 2 new moulds. I've got this tiny little one. Some of these are so small I'm not even going to go there, but I really like these square ones. They're kind of domed on the back, so I'm probably going to use the square ones and maybe these small oval ones. And I want to test using UV resin. I want to brush the pigment into the mould first and then add the resin. Then I want to do some where I put the resin in first and then rub the interference powders on the back, because that gives a slightly different effect because it's kind of getting lensed by the domed front of the pendant. I've also got a slightly bigger pendant mould. These came in a 2-pack. So I'd quite like to have a play with some of these, some of the smaller ones, mostly because I have a real problem with UV resin when I try to cure the resin on slightly bigger pieces. It just never quite works, and I think it's because my nail lamp is not very good. So I'm going to have a go with both of those. So I'm going to say brush the mould with the pigments, add the resin, and then I'll do some more, add the resin and then brush the backs with those. I've also got this other pigment that I haven't quite got a handle on how to use yet. It's like a full rainbow iridescence one, and again that's fiddly to get to work right, so I'm going to have a go and see how I get on. So I've got a very basic nail lamp here. It's, you know, it's really nothing fancy, but it gets the job done. The resin that I'm using is the JDiction UV resin. This is the hard type resin, which is good. And what I think I'll do is maybe make some earrings, maybe some pendants, we'll see. I just want to have a play and see how the pigments work first. So I think that's all I need to show you materials wise. When I come to adding the back, by the way, I'm going to mix a little bit of mica powder in with some UV resin to put on the back. So some of them I'm going to do with silver white, which is one of a gazillion pack that I got from Amazon, and I've also got this hoofing big bottle of black. But you need to remember that when you add mica powder to UV resin, you still need the UV light to get through, so you don't want to add too much, just enough to give the back a bit of contrast. I'm also going to use a tip that Daniel Cooper shared with us, and that is to put a mirror underneath the pendant mold, because that way the UV light can kind of get underneath as well, and that'll really help to make sure that they're evenly cured. Now it's a really warm sunny day here, so my resin is going to start curing pretty darn quick, so I'm going to do them in very small batches so that I don't end up with skins on top of those that I don't want skins on top of. Okay, that is everything. Let's get started. So I'm not sure if you can see in that angle there is a kind of colour shift to these. So yeah, hopefully it'll show up better when we actually get it in the mould and get some resin on the back. So I'm just gonna pick a couple. Okay, so I've blocked off some of the daylight here so that I can mix a little bit of UV resin with some white mica powder in it. Just a little bit. There's a lot of sunlight coming through the window, so it's going to start getting a skin on it pretty darn quick. So I may have to do this in a couple of batches, but I will add some of this. I only need a little bit. Now I've got quite a few bubbles that appeared during the UV curing process. That's why I find UV resin so frustrating, because there never seems to be any rhyme or reason to how and why the bubbles form. And I find it insanely frustrating. I can add a smidge more. Okay, these have had a long time. I've put them in over and over and over again just to make sure everything's fully cured. I turned it upside down, cured the underside, so I think we're good to demold. They're very small, so I'm not sure how much you're going to see from there, but I'll bring you down for a closer look afterwards. They basically all look gold. Okay, I'm going to bring you down to have a look at these. So from above they all kind of have the same texture. So that's the one that's got a kind of turquoisey blue, or green I should say. These are kind of blue, those are gold, and there's a sort of pinkish colour, a very subtle moonstony colour, and then those are kind of peach. From further back they look really similar. So just to clarify, these had the pigment rubbed onto the mould directly. So I want to try some where I cure some clear resin and then put the pigment on the back and see how differently they look. I'm not going to make this many, these took so long, so I'm going to try some other ones now just with clear resin in the mould first. Okay, I've done 6 small squares, 6 small ovals. What I'm going to do is put one of each of my 6 interference powders on each of those. One of them I'll back with black, one I'll back with white, so you can see side by side. So just as before, except you rubbing it on the back of the resin this time rather than the back of the mould. So it'd be interesting to see side by side how different they look. I should have backed some of the others in black. I was kind of got enthusiastic and just did them all in white without really thinking about it. I also think I didn't add quite enough white pigment because those stones are still very translucent, which is fine, they look pretty, but it depends what effect you're kind of going for. So I'm just going to do one of each in all of these. Okay, so you can see how bright those colours look at that angle. Beautiful. So off camera, I'm going to do exactly the same that I did with these ones, except I'm going to mix a bit of black mica in one batch and a bit of white in the other. I haven't decided which is getting black and which is getting white, but when I've done that, I will come back. And the other thing I want to try to do is in this bigger mould, I've cured a couple of squares and I want to back those in black. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do with that is add some pigment and then try to scratch some of it off so that when you back it, it kind of has that look of labradorite. Don't know if it'll work with these pigments because they're not particularly strong, but I might give that a go now. We'll just pop some of that on. So I definitely want some of that blue, which was the second one in. Kind of in patches though, I don't want it to be uniform. A little bit of the orange and a bit of the gold, I think. Smush that around a bit, then scratch it off. When my micro brushes, when the heads come off, I still keep the sticks because they're kind of useful for stuff like this. Okay, I'm going to go in with a pin as well to get some sort of deeper . And I think I need to possibly get a little bit of that off just so that there's more black showing. So to do that, I'm going to dip a micro brush into a little bit of alcohol and just rub away some parts of that. Off camera, I'm going to back all of those and I'll be back when I'm ready to demold. I made too much white, so I quickly used some of my hollow nail pigment in the kind of irregular shaped blobs just to see what they came out like. I derped, and when I had the black resin mixed up, I put a blob on the back of there, forgetting that that was still wet white resin, so that might show through. Very, very annoying, but let's pop them out and see what they look like. I much prefer the black background for sure. I really like the way that these look where I put the resin in first and put the pigment on the back. I think that looks really nice. With the white background, doesn't really make a lot of difference. I'm just trying to get the right colours here to compare. Yeah, I didn't do the gold. Right, let me bring you down and show you the comparison. Okay, this is super interesting. Really see in the light how when you put the UV resin in first and put the pigment on the back, it gives you beautiful shine, loads of colour payoff. You've still got some of the texture, which I really like. I think it makes it look more like a real polished stone. These are the ones where I put the pigment in the mould first and backed it with a not enough white pigment. So you can see the colour at an angle, but it's way more mattified, doesn't have the high shine. I actually quite like that. I think they're really pretty. These are interesting. You can barely see the colours. So what I think's happened here is when I put the resin mixed with white pigment on the back, it's picked up the pigment and mixed in. So if you do it this way, I suggest putting a layer of clear on before the white, then it'll seal in the pigment. So they're pretty, but it's super subtle. They all just look like a slightly frosted sea glass almost. I actually think they would look better if I sand the shine off and let them have more of this kind of opaque thing going on. These are absolutely beautiful. Love, love, love those. So I have all of these other ones, and it's actually hard to even tell which colour's which with these, but I do really like them. I think they're really pretty. I'm not normally a pastel kind of person, but I do think that they're really nice. A couple of weeks ago, Daniel Cooper did a UV resin experiment where he sprayed a bit of hairspray on the back of the resin before it cured, and that adds this super wonderful texture. And I added these pigments on the back and then backed them with a bit of black, and these are absolutely gorgeous. I love those. They really do look like some kind of polished stone. So I did a few of them, and as I often do with UV resin, had a few issues. So that one developed a little nubbin. That one was really beautiful as well, the blue. And that was also gorgeous. But these two developed little nubbins, and I don't know why they do that. So I'm not mad at that one, but that one also has a weird kind of bubbly thing going on inside as well. So this just takes away some of the perfect background. So just adding the hairspray, I probably could have added more hairspray, honestly, but it just messes up the texture of the resin a little bit and makes it slightly less perfect. And you can see some of the black pigment through it, and I love that. So I was hoping to capture some of that with the ones that I've tried to do that look like labradorite, possibly. So I'm going to grab those now and see what they look like. Okay, these last 4 pieces I've made, by far my favourite. Look! Oh my word! They are gorgeous. That is exactly the effect I was trying to capture. Wow! Love, love, love. I also put some of my holographic pigment in the heart moulds and added a bit of black and then packed them with clear, and it's the first time that I've been able to use that holographic pigment and get a really nice rainbow effect. They are absolutely stunning, so definitely going to do that again. They are amazing. I probably could have rubbed a bit less of the pigment off. Oh wow, love, 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 love. Really love the middle row. They're a bit more dramatic. Overall, I think these have all turned out really beautifully. So what I might do off camera is just make a couple of them into some earrings so you can kind of get an idea of what they look like. I've got my little hand drill that I can use to make some holes. It's going to be fiddly and my hands will be in the way, so it's going to be impossible for me to film that. But I will come back when I've made these into something, and then we can have another look. Okay, I am more than a little overwhelmed with the just sheer quantity of things that I've just made. I've got ideas that it'd be great to have like 3 things hanging in some earrings or a long pendant, but a lot of these are so small that I'm kind of terrified of drilling them. I've tested a couple and it's worked okay, but trying to figure out what jump rings to use that will go through a small hole without the corner cracking off, I'm kind of getting stressed about it, so I'm just leaving these alone for now. Those are the hollow pigment ones that didn't work quite well. It's a fiddly pigment to get to work right, that one. Those are the ones that had the clear resin poured in first and the colours on the back, but I think my white resin mixed in a little bit with the colours, so they're not very vivid. These are beautiful. These are so pretty. They kind of look like iridescent sea glass almost. I love how matte they are. So they're the ones where the pigment went in first and then backed with white resin. They're just beautiful. I think they're really pretty. They're not really a kind of vibe that I would normally go for, but I think they're beautiful. But the real stars of today, these are the ones that those 2 hearts I actually made with the hairspray on the back. This one as well was one of the hairspray ones, but these 2 faux labradorite-esque pieces. They're beautiful. So one of them I've made into a pendant with a little one at the top, so I'm able to drill those. Getting the drill hole in exactly the right place is so fiddly on something this small, but I love that just in a pendant on its own. I like it with the extra one. I might take that off, I don't know. I love these iridescent rainbow pigment earrings, heart shapes. I've glued the bails onto the back of those and I'm going to turn them into earrings. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to add beads above before putting the earring hooks on, so I've just left them as is for now because I don't want to go off on another tangent in this video. So I'm testing a new super glue for putting the bails on. I've run out of E6000, but I've got this Loctite super glue power gel. It seems to bond really quickly, which is handy for this application, so hopefully they'll be strong enough to hold. So quite a lot done, and they can go in my box of things to make in the future because I can't deal with it right now. Okay, thank you so much for watching, guys. Thanks Claire again for organising this wonderful collab. I hope that you enjoy all the other videos that are in the playlist. As I said at the intro, the playlist is in the description box below. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Bye for now.